So I'm going to try now from the start of each week just to post a video on Mondays, just giving you a rundown of your assignments for the week, what I expect, maybe some updates on stuff I'm hearing about, what might happen, and all that good stuff. So your assignments for this week, number one is to finish your chapter 16 outlines. This is your last outline. This is it, and you're done with the textbook. So chapter 16 is on the news, the media. That's the last chapter for the course. I also posted a VoiceThread lecture that you can listen through. That's me going through the slides, explaining things as well. So when you get a chance, make sure you watch that. And then just like the last week, I got a Pear Deck for you to do, a student-paced Pear Deck, so just do it on your own time. Remember, Pear Deck saves your responses automatically, so don't feel like you need to be in any rush to get it done. But it's got some questions. Some of it might look familiar to something we did at the beginning of the year, but I added some stuff onto the end of it to cover some of the new stuff from this chapter. So that's your two assignments this week: chapter 16 outlines, listen to the VoiceThread lecture, and then the media Pear Deck. All right, so make sure you get those two things done. As for an update on school, as of, Sunday night at 6:39 p.m. when I'm making this, I still have not heard any update about if school is closed past next Friday. So as of right now, and this could change by the time you actually watch this, school is still expected to be back in session on, April 6th, maybe? April 6th, Monday, April 6th. So I haven't heard anything different. With that said, though, the governor has expected the peak of the virus to be late April, maybe even mid-May. So that means it's a very real possibility I might not see you all again. So I'll just keep posting videos on Monday like this, giving you a rundown of what to expect for the week. Now, I'd be a little remiss if I didn't at least talk a little bit about what all is going on with the government. But to be honest with you all, since it's my job every day to come in, check the news, update my classes on what's going on with current events, when it was spring break, I kind of took a break from all of that. I just needed to get away from all the media and stuff. Quite frankly, some of the stuff is frustrating me. And I recommend everyone does that. Don't listen to the media every day. But from what I do know, there are some updates for you on terms of government's response. Probably the biggest thing you've heard about is the stimulus package that was passed. Now think back actually to our last chapter. I mean, everything kind of just comes together with what we've been learning about in class lately. So the stimulus package bill, the idea is it's kind of a Keynesian economics example here, is they're trying to stimulate the economy by injecting money into the economy so that people go out and buy things. So the idea is to give about every American about $1,200. Married couples, they get $2,400. For each kid you have, it's $500 extra additional dollars you get. So this is the biggest stimulus bill ever in history. I think it's over $3 trillion. So if you qualify, meaning you don't make too much money, if your income based off your most recent tax return, I think is below $75,000 for individuals, below $120,000-ish, something like that for married couples, then you can expect to get a stimulus check from the government. And the idea is that you go out and you spend that money, and that helps boom the economy back up. Now, because of the time-sensitive nature of everything that's going on and the fact it's an emergency and people think that, we really need to get this stuff passed as soon as possible, this opened the door up for a lot of lobbyists and special interests to say, hey, we know that the public's expecting you to pass this bill and act very quickly. So we know people are just going to vote on this, so it looks like the government's doing something and they can get this cash relief to millions of people that need it. So if you look at the bill, there are a ton of special interest pork barrel spending that's in there. The Kennedy Space Center got millions of dollars. Different airliners, they got millions and millions of dollars, and they've still ended up laying people off despite the fact that they got all that money. So it's just filled with a lot of pork barrel spending that special interest groups and PACs and different organizations that they put money into in terms of lobbying members of Congress to put that into a bill. So that means, despite the fact that there's cash relief for millions of Americans, the bigger corporations got very nice, sizable bailouts, kind of at the expense of some smaller businesses. So not every business got a check from the government or got some cash relief. Really, it was big ones like airliners, maybe even I think the auto manufacturers as well, got some corporate bailouts. So that's made things a little controversial. Some people haven't liked that too well. Both Democrats and Republicans have criticized it. Both Democrats and Republicans have praised it. So I encourage you to check out what's in the bill. See if you can find any examples of pork barrel spending in there. I'm sure everyone's got some thoughts on it. So that was one example of some stuff that went down in regards to what we've talked about in class recently. The next example, going way back to I think like chapter 4 in the bureaucracy, the CDC and the FDA have gotten a lot of criticism lately because of their regulations. Their regulations have slowed down the process for people to make ventilators and get ventilators to hospitals, to people that really need the ventilators. So, for example, here in Ohio, there's an old car manufacturing plant, and President Trump just invoked emergency powers. The Defense Appropriations Act, which is from World War II, enables the president to force private businesses to stop producing one thing and start producing something else in times of emergency. Now, whether or not you think that's kind of like what a dictator does, it kind of is. Whether or not you think it's right or wrong, I guess I should say, is kind of up to you. But President Trump has ordered one of the former auto manufacturers in Ohio to turn their factory into making ventilators instead of another product. And so the FDA really kind of dropped the ball, and their regulations didn't approve of the ventilators. So they blocked some of the ventilators from being sent out of Ohio to New York, which desperately needs them right now. So there's been a lot of red tape that the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, have had to cut just to make things more efficient, because they've really been getting in the way of testing kits becoming available and ventilators being able to get to hospitals for people that really need them. So that's kind of what's going on in the world of government. The last little bit here is a perfect segue into our chapter on the media. President Trump has kind of taken this opportunity to go after the media in his typical fashion, and things like this have been happening.
I have a question for you. So we have a lot of very angry media all around this room, and they want one of these seats. But because of social distancing, we are keeping them empty, and they are keeping them empty. Will there ever be a time when all of those really angry people who don't like me much to start off with, but now they really don't like me, will there ever be a time when these seats are full, like full to the brim like it used to be, where people are almost sitting on each other's lap, and this whole row over here is packed, and now they're outside wanting to get in, and they're very jealous of all of these reporters? Will we ever have that again, or is that something that will be, it'll look like this forever?
So we're learning a lot about social distancing and respiratory diseases, and I think those are the discussions.
Troll in chief, what can I say? Last update, some changes at the state level. State testing has been, I believe a bill was passed this past week to get rid of state testing. Now that does include the AP exam, I'll talk about that in a second, but juniors especially, your government EOC, you're not going to have to take it. That's going to be gone. So there's some changes made to that. As for your labs and stuff, I believe there is a plan in place for you to be able to make up your hours, or for the hours to be shortened. So your lab teachers hopefully will talk to you about that. But that bill was passed in the state legislature this past week, and I think Governor DeWine signed it pretty quickly into law. And then the last little bit of information at the state level is Election Day. Election Day at the last second was postponed to June 2nd by the governor. Now, the governor actually does not have the power to do that. Only the state legislature does. But Governor DeWine petitioned the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas to do that. The judge struck it down and said, listen, you're setting a dangerous precedent by basically postponing the election day the day before and claiming a national health crisis. Because what's to stop a future governor from seeing that they're not doing well in the polls and saying, oh, well, there's a health crisis, lives are at risk, so I need to postpone the election. So Governor DeWine then gave the power to Amy Acton, the director of public health, and she ended up saying it was unsafe for people to go to the polls. It was extradited to the Ohio Supreme Court, and late that night, the Ohio Supreme Court said it's okay to postpone the election. So it's no longer June 2nd, though. The legislature got together last week, and the Ohio legislature said that absentee ballot voting is going to be open till April 28th. So April 28th will be the cutoff date. Those of you that are registered to vote, you should be getting a card in the mail from the Licking County Board of Elections telling you what's going on, what the process is. But essentially, I think you're going to get an absentee ballot in the mail. And if what they said is true, you should already have prepaid postage on it to where you just fill out your ballot, you drop it off in the mail, and you send it off by April 28th. So I believe that is the plan for the primary election, which is a bummer. You guys were so close to being able to vote in that election. But it looks like April 28th, we will know who won those different seats and those different elections. Anyway, so some updates on the AP exam. They sent out an email, and things are still kind of in flux with it. But they are going to test only units 1 through 3 on the exam. That's what's up for grabs. For reference to that, we finished Unit 3 in about mid-January. So Unit 3 kind of ended with the Supreme Court. We've gone over the bureaucracy, we've gone over federalism, the Constitution, Congress, the presidency, different things like that. So really up until we got to like political parties, ideology, voting, polling, all of that, that's not going to be on the test. So Unit 4 and 5, really pretty much what we've done since February, late January, early February, is not going to be on there. Now, they say it's going to be a 45-minute test online from home. And it's either going to be one FRQ or multiple FRQs. They haven't told us yet. So those are the free response questions we always did as our bell ringers. So it's going to be a 45-minute exam at home, meaning you can use your resources. You can use your chapter outlines. You can use your textbooks, which should help. Even if we come back from school early, they're still going to do the test that way. You might have to take it in school if we come back early, but otherwise it'll be at home. Even if you take it in school, I believe you can still use your resources as well. They have not finalized a date yet for sure. They're going to send me more information about what the test is going to be like and stuff on April 3rd. They sent out all the AP government teachers a survey asking what dates we would like to have the AP exam and what content we've covered and everything. Luckily for you guys, this week is the last week of new content that we have for the entire course. So I was planning on spending the rest of the month just reviewing and getting you prepared for it. So that means my plan of attack likely from I guess the start of next week all the way up until probably up until the time of the AP exam, which I'm hoping is early May. We'll just be reviewing. We'll be doing some practice FRQs because that looks like that's what the exam is going to be. That's what the format's going to be. So I'll be helping you guys out with that, giving you FRQ practice questions and giving you feedback on all of that. All right. So just to recap, make sure you do your 2 assignments for this week. And then if you have any questions, don't feel hesitant or anything to email me or shoot me a message on Google Classroom or something like that. Don't forget, I also kept up the current event question as well. So if anything sparks your interest in the news, feel free to post something in there. Good luck. Miss you guys. Hopefully I get to see you next Monday. I don't know if I will or not, but hopefully I do, so I can stop teaching from my room.